A nation at the crossroads. It truly feels like Britain is in the midst of a massive shake-up, doesn't it? A deep sense of unease is spreading across the nation. You witness it daily in the news headlines, stark and undeniable. The chaos and division constantly fill your social media feeds, and it's a conversation you can't avoid, down the pub or over a cuppa. There's this pervasive undercurrent, a nagging feeling that things are shifting too quickly. Many are left questioning where on earth we're actually heading. It's like the very ground beneath our feet is no longer stable. It's giving way, a fundamental sense that the country is breaking down, becoming unrecognizable. Old certainties are crumbling away, leaving a gaping void. The pace of change feels relentless, almost overwhelming in its speed. People are genuinely worried about the future, about what's coming next. There's a palpable fear of losing what truly defines us as a nation. A profound feeling that our heritage, our very identity, is slipping away. Divisions are deepening every day, creating chasms in our communities. Trust in established institutions seems to be at an all-time low. Every day brings fresh headlines of conflict, confusion, and despair. From our very streets to our digital screens, an unsettling unrest is brewing. It's a sense of pervasive anxiety that's incredibly hard to shake off. The familiar feels foreign, and the future feels incredibly uncertain. There's a growing, undeniable frustration with those in charge, a feeling that promises are consistently broken and ordinary voices aren't heard. It's as if society itself is unraveling, thread by agonizing thread. This isn't just a temporary bad patch, it truly feels like a pivotal turning point. Many genuinely fear we're accelerating dangerously towards a cliff edge, and deep down you just know it's all going to absolute chaos. The real question now is, what will truly be left of Britain when the dust finally settles? So, who exactly are we now in this rapidly changing modern Britain? Our cherished sense of shared identity feels increasingly fragmented and uncertain. Many genuinely feel that our heritage, our very essence, is steadily slipping away. Traditional British values, once foundational, seem to be constantly under challenge. And replaced by what exactly? No one in power seems to truly know or articulate it. The Britain we once knew, the nation passed down through generations, is becoming unrecognizable. There's a growing, unsettling fear of becoming a minority in our own homeland. The stark term Englandstan encapsulates this deep and visceral anxiety for many. This isn't about unfounded hatred, it's about preserving who we are as a people. Different birth rates within communities are a stark factor in this accelerating transformation. It's leading to an unsettling feeling of being an island of strangers, disconnected and isolated. Concerns rise daily about losing our common language, our very means of communication. We see this unsettling trend playing out in our schools, our local areas, our public spaces. Remember how a school controversially cancelled Easter, supposedly for inclusivity, a perceived betrayal of our own heritage, designed specifically to please other faiths, while other cultures are not just tolerated, but openly and almost exclusively celebrated? Why must our own rich history be constantly demonized, our national symbols questioned? The very notion of what it truly means to be British feels fundamentally under attack. It makes law-abiding citizens feel like outsiders in their own historical country. Is it truly just a benign culture clash or something far deeper and more insidious? Many are convinced there's a fundamental, irreconcilable incompatibility between Islam and the West. This isn't merely about superficial cultural differences, it's seen as an unbridgeable ideological chasm. The very notion of finding common ground with such a force seems naive, even dangerously misguided. For a growing number, macro-Islam is not viewed as a religion of peace, but as a militant authoritarian ideology. This profound and alarming perspective is rooted in a cold, literal reading of the Quran's most aggressive verses. Verses that explicitly command violence, hatred, intolerance, and ultimately absolute domination. Quran 3:28 ominously warns against taking infidels, non-Muslims, as friends, sowing deep distrust from the outset. Quran 3:85 starkly declares that any religion other than Islam is utterly unacceptable to God, establishing a singular truth claim. Quran 5:33 even suggests a brutal command to maim and crucify critics of Islam, showcasing extreme intolerance. Quran 8:12 chillingly directs believers to terrorize and behead non-believers simply for their differing scriptures. Quran 8 60 unequivocally commands Muslims to muster all weapons specifically to terrorize infidels for control. Quran 8. 65 labels unbelievers as inherently ignorant, explicitly urging Muslims to fight them as a divine mandate. And Quran 9:5, infamously known as the sword verse, orders killing infidels wherever found, when the opportunity arises. Quran 9:30 is seen as not only condemning Jews and Christians for their theology, calling them deviant in their understanding of divine sonship, but also urging active conflict. These are sacred scriptures. They are taken literally by many adherents, not metaphorically or merely historically. This literal interpretation fuels the unwavering belief that Islam's core theory is indeed world domination, not through peaceful persuasion, but through absolute, uncompromising imposition of Sharia law globally. The goal is clear: to subjugate and tax the infidels, reducing them to second-class citizens fundamentally. Martyrdom, with its promised rewards of 72 virgins, brazenly incentivizes a desire for death in conflict. This is presented as direct, irrefutable evidence of a true aggressive ideology, undeniably. The ultimate aim is stark: the complete and utter destruction of the Jews, a terrifying prophecy. This fundamental drive for domination and destruction clashes violently with any notion of Western coexistence or tolerance. Then there's the figure of Prophet Muhammad himself, a figure of profound moral controversy. Unlike Jesus, who is universally pure and sinless, Muhammad is viewed as deeply flawed and sinful. His lineage from Ishmael, not David, means he cannot possibly be the prophesied Messiah. His perceived actions, accusations of unlawful sexual relations with a minor, aggression and violence are deeply troubling and unforgivable. Specific accusations include his marriage to Aisha, which is condemned by modern ethics as unlawful sexual relations with a minor. The brutal massacre of the Jewish Banu Qurayza tribe, seen as an act of ethnic cleansing, is undeniable. Caravan raids, the practice of slavery and the alleged killing of critics further blacken his image as a leader. This fundamental moral divergence from Jesus is a critical point of irreconcilable difference. It leads many to the unequivocal conclusion that Muhammad is merely another Antichrist. His elevation to Jesus' divine pedestal is therefore considered a profound and unacceptable blasphemy. The Mahdi, the prophesied Islamic leader, further intensifies these grave end-times fears. His expected role in global rule and inevitable conflict is seen to mirror the biblical Antichrist's agenda. Reported healings by figures like Abdullah Hashem Abba al-Sadiq are met with deep suspicion. These are interpreted as deceptive signs and wonders, cunningly meant to mislead and beguile people. Ultimately, the very idea of common ground with such an ideology seems like dangerous folly and wishful thinking. Have we, as a nation, truly lost faith in the very systems that shape our daily lives? A profound erosion of trust in government, in our police, and in the entire justice system is evident. Many believe we're living in an undeniably unfair, deeply entrenched two-tier society. Our cherished National Health Service, once a universal source of pride, is seen as actively crumbling, creating a two-tier healthcare system where access and even life itself literally depend on money. Education is no different. State schools often struggle, lagging behind elite private institutions. This perpetuating privilege, denying true social mobility for the majority. But it's the justice system that truly exposes the rot within. Accusations of political agendas, brazenly influencing who gets prosecuted and how, are rife. Remember the deeply unsettling events at Manchester Airport, still fresh in the public mind. Ahmed Yaqub, the lawyer representing the individuals involved, is seen as actively creating and inciting a false information agenda. This lawyer's false agenda directly led to the police officers being unjustly investigated and maligned. Yaqub himself made claims of clients not resisting and seeing no evidence of police assault despite contradictory footage. Yet the undeniable truth emerged. Police officers' noses were broken, they were brutally attacked first, and despite the attackers being charged, it felt like a disproportionately long time to prosecute them. This perceived manipulation of the narrative by the attacker's lawyer fuels immense public distrust. New guidelines suggesting extra information for minorities were seen as undermining equality before the law. Accusations flew of deliberately creating a bias against straight white men in sentencing. It's argued white individuals not aligned to the prevailing UK agenda receive disproportionately harsher sentences. To be clear, horrific crimes like child sexual assault or murder are not receiving suspended sentences in the UK, but the pervasive public perception of leniency in some other serious cases still fuels immense rage. Consider the stark case of Lucy Connolly, jailed for 31 months for an angry, incendiary tweet. Tommy Robinson, repeatedly jailed for contempt of court, is viewed as being silenced by a deliberate agenda. Meanwhile, figures like Ricky Jones, charged with encouraging violent disorder, were released on bail. This deep-seated, undeniable unfairness crushes public trust, pushing us ever closer to the breaking point. It truly begs the question, if we can't trust our own justice, what fundamentally remains of our society? And then, as if our nation's woes weren't enough, came the Online Safety Act. It was officially touted as a noble effort, making Britain the safest place online. Especially, they claimed, for our precious children, shielding them from harm's way. But for a growing number, this legislation is simply extreme, a dangerous overreach. It's seen not as genuine protection, but as a sinister tool for widespread censorship, a chilling instrument designed to control what can and cannot be said online. The Act places immense, unprecedented pressure on tech companies, on social media giants, forcing them to actively police vast amounts of content to regulate our very words. They're now legally bound to proactively detect and remove illegal content, including child sexual abuse material and terrorism-related content, a righteous aim supposedly. But the scope of this legislation extends far beyond into deeply troubling territory. It delves into the murky realm of harmful but legal speech, a truly terrifying concept. This is precisely where the real threat to free expression and open debate truly begins. Companies fearing colossal fines of up to 10% of global turnover will simply adopt a cut-it-out approach, leading to the preemptive removal of perfectly lawful content, undeniable and widespread. This directly chills legitimate political debate, independent satire, and honest journalism. Anything, in short, that challenges prevailing orthodoxy or inconvenient truths becomes a target. The Act creates alarming new criminal offences, dangerously vague in their wording, like the insidious false communication offence, a truly sinister development for free thought, punishing messages the sender knows to be false and intends to cause non-trivial harm. This very concept is seen as akin to criminalising, causing severe emotional distress, if severe enough. It risks making the state the ultimate unchallenged arbiter of truth online, a terrifying prospect. This is a direct, undeniable assault on the fundamental right to express controversial opinions, even if those opinions are unpopular, make someone uncomfortable, or challenge power. The power of Ofcom, the newly empowered regulator, is now sweeping and unprecedented. They can demand platforms implement highly intrusive client-side scanning of encrypted messages. This represents a profound threat to personal privacy, potentially enabling mass surveillance of citizens. Even if the technology doesn't yet fully exist, the chilling power to compel its future use remains. The Act's extra-jurisdictional reach is truly alarming, potentially affecting individuals far beyond UK borders. It starkly reveals a fundamental divergence from stronger free speech protections in places like the US. Critics unequivocally see it as creating a dystopian Orwellian place online, a digital prison, where people feel forced to remain silent about unfashionable topics or government failings. It's a severe, chilling effect leading to widespread self-censorship out of sheer fear of repercussions, especially for those who dare to question the government's narrative or its hidden agenda. The very ability to expose inconvenient truths is now under direct threat, profoundly. This legislation is seen as actively suppressing vital public discourse and critical commentary, forcing a need for extreme caution, a palpable silence that benefits only the powerful elite. It represents a fundamental and terrifying attack on the digital freedoms we once took for granted. Ultimately, this raises the chilling question: who truly decides what is safe and what is dangerous in the digital realm? So, the critical question remains: are we genuinely being safeguarded, or are we being systematically silenced? That's the chilling, pervasive question now hanging over the Online Safety Act, undeniably. Its proponents relentlessly claim it's a vital tool, protecting vulnerable individuals, particularly children, from harm. A noble goal, they insist, to make the entire internet a safer, more wholesome place for everyone. But for many, this legislation is a cunning Trojan horse, hiding a far darker, more insidious agenda. It's widely seen as a direct, undeniable assault on the fundamental, cherished right to free speech. The very bedrock of any true democracy, that essential freedom now appears under severe threat. Consider the alarming implications of its harmful but legal content provisions, a truly slippery slope. This nebulous category creates immense ambiguity, ripe for unprecedented abuse of power, undeniably. Who precisely defines what is harmful when it's not explicitly illegal? The state, an unelected body. This inherent vagueness will inevitably lead to rampant over-censorship by cautious platforms. They'll err on the side of extreme caution, deleting anything remotely controversial to avoid massive fines. This isn't truly about protecting children, it's fundamentally about controlling narratives and public discourse. It's about systematically suppressing opinions that dare to challenge the ruling elite's agenda. Think of the insidious new false communications offense, a truly sinister development for free thought. Criminalizing online posts where the sender knows to be false and intends to cause non-trivial harm. This vague phrasing dangerously risks criminalizing honest debate, biting satire, and legitimate critique. If someone claims emotional offense, regardless of factual truth, is that enough for arrest and prosecution? It brazenly grants the state unprecedented power to be the ultimate, unquestionable arbiter of truth online. This is a chilling hallmark of authoritarian regimes, not the hallmark of genuinely free societies, and we've already seen the alarming consequences of this power already in action across the UK. Take the stark and deeply troubling case of Lucy Connolly, a truly shocking example of overreach. Her countless supporters rightly argue her sentence was disproportionate, clearly politically motivated. It was overtly designed to send a chilling message to anyone else daring to speak out of turn. Then there's the repeated jailing of Tommy Robinson for contempt of court, profoundly disturbing. His supporters firmly believe he was systematically silenced by the very system he sought to expose. His persistent attempts to expose alleged cover-ups were deemed crimes against the establishment. His segregation in prison, ostensibly for safety, is twisted into an act of state persecution, sending an unmistakable message that challenging the narrative will lead to severe politically motivated punishment. This is unequivocally not impartial justice. It's widely perceived as outright political oppression. The contrast is stark, fueling undeniable claims of a two-tier justice system for public expression, where some are jailed for mere words, while others appear to get away with far more serious actual crimes. The Online Safety Act will only exacerbate these profound and growing inequalities. It will systematically empower authorities to police online discourse with an iron fist, ruthlessly, leading to a devastating, pervasive, chilling effect on all critical thought and free expression. People will undoubtedly self-censor, terrified of breaching unknown and arbitrary legal boundaries, afraid to question crucial government policies, afraid to challenge powerful mainstream narratives, afraid to even express genuine anger or frustration online authentically and freely. This creates a truly dystopian Orwellian digital landscape, a virtual prison for the mind, where only approved opinions are deemed safe enough to exist, stifling all meaningful debate. It's a profound betrayal of the hard-won freedoms our forefathers fought and died for so bravely. A betrayal of what it fundamentally means to be truly British, to openly speak your mind without fear. The perceived inability to access controversial videos online further reinforces this chilling fear. Many question if it's truly technical issues or subtle, deliberate censorship at play, subtly controlling access. A growing number believe the government explicitly wants to control all information, all thought, all discourse. This act isn't truly about safeguarding us, it's blatantly about safeguarding their absolute power. Ultimately, it means free speech in Britain is being systematically eroded, tragically dying before our very eyes. So, is this new, formidable legislation truly creating a safer net for us all? They speak relentlessly of protecting our most vulnerable individuals, especially our precious children, from online harm. But for a growing number, these lofty pronouncements mask deeper, more cynical motivations. They look directly at incidents where false narratives, deliberately spread online, have led to real-world harm. The terrible events in Southport following a tragic murder serve as a chilling and undeniable prime example. This was a calculated official narrative, instantly disseminated through compliant mainstream channels. It found no solid evidence of premeditated coordination by any specific far-right group in the unrest. This exposes a profound and deeply concerning issue: the government's perceived willingness to label legitimate dissent as extremism. This official narrative, actively promoted by figures like Keir Starmer, was demonstrably misleading and manipulative, leading some Muslim communities to wrongly fear physical attacks from alleged far-right agitators. This case highlights a broader, terrifying concern about state-sponsored misinformation, a pervasive deception, and the chilling, undeniable potential for the Online Safety Act to be used for this very purpose. The harsh sentencing of individuals like Lucy Connolly for an intemperate tweet fits this disturbing pattern perfectly. So when they argue for stronger online rules as a means to combat misinformation and harm, is it genuinely about creating a safer net, or rather a much tighter, more restrictive net of control, to ruthlessly quash any narrative that fundamentally doesn't fit the official controlled agenda? It profoundly undermines fundamental trust in official information and the very integrity of public discourse. And this systematic suppression tragically fuels the very unrest and division the Act supposedly aims to prevent. Ultimately, it's a chilling vision of a society where truth becomes whatever the government deems safe for us to know. So, where do we stand now, truly amidst this relentless unrest and pervasive misinformation? The profound aftermath of these seismic shifts is palpable across the nation, undeniably. A Britain now teetering precariously on the very edge, its unity fractured, its future profoundly uncertain. The terrifying signs of deepening internal conflict are everywhere, tragically visible to all. Recent violent clashes between the far left and patriots are not merely isolated incidents. They are direct, undeniable manifestations of deeply ingrained underlying societal fault lines ignored for too long. Evidence of a mini-insurrection is already brewing, visibly unfolding on our very streets. The Liverpool car attack, though involving a white man, still highlights the profound societal divisions. This blatant manipulation of information by authorities actively fuels the dangerous us versus them mentality. Despite numerous reports proving these official claims to be absolute nonsense, the narrative persists, a deliberate attempt to smear honest citizens, to control public perception ruthlessly and effectively. It's brazenly designed to silence dissenting voices, to suppress inconvenient truths, to control all information. Thousands of online posts are now monitored, many leading to arrests and severe consequences. Ordinary citizens are being made examples of for merely expressing anger or frustration online. The very systems meant to protect us are increasingly seen as fundamentally compromised, utterly corrupted. Our national identity is visibly dissolving, being systematically replaced by an island of strangers. This isn't merely benign social change. It's a terrifying, undeniable cultural civil war. And unless something fundamental changes, the path to wider, devastating conflict seems irreversible. In this profoundly fractured Britain, can we truly bridge these ever-deepening, seemingly unbridgeable divides? The question hangs heavy in the air, a desperate plea for a glimmer of hope amidst the escalating chaos. But after all we've seen, all we've discussed, does genuine reconciliation even seem remotely possible? Many firmly believe the chasms are simply too wide, the fundamental differences too vast to overcome. How can a nation truly unite when core values are perceived as fundamentally and irreconcilably incompatible? When one side feels its very identity, its cherished heritage, is under systematic, deliberate attack? When another is seen as driven by an aggressive, militant, authoritarian ideology bent on domination? The perceived aim of world domination directly clashes with any notion of peaceful, democratic pluralism, and the glaring asymmetry of religious freedom leaves a bitter, unjust taste in the mouths of many, undeniably. How do you even begin to bridge a divide when one side is seen to actively exploit the other's openness? When fundamental trust in our leaders, in our core institutions, has utterly collapsed, leaving a void? The shocking revelations of a two-tier justice system are truly corrosive to the soul of the nation, where some are judged by one law, others by a different, unseen, politically motivated standard. The perceived political agendas brazenly influencing our courts are simply unforgivable and unacceptable, leading to an overwhelming, crushing sense of profound unfairness for countless ordinary citizens. How do we even begin to bridge this gaping chasm when basic fundamental justice feels utterly out of reach for some? When dissenting voices are systematically silenced, when legitimate online expression is criminalized? The Online Safety Act is widely seen as a deliberate weapon, a dangerous tool of widespread censorship, forcing a chilling effect on legitimate political debate, brutally crushing all critical thought and inquiry. It makes genuine, honest dialogue impossible, born out of fear, not out of true open exchange of ideas.